episode 611 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Gonna be going over the June 5th episodes of WWE Speed and AEW Dynamite, featuring the Dynamite return of MJF, another qualifying match for the AEW TNT Championship ladder match at Forbidden Door. We hear from the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, a few times during the night. And the AEW World Championship is on the line in the main event. Right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Welcome to 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I'm Lance Brock. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Time to talk about AEW Dynamite on this Wednesday night. And it is Wednesday. That also means a new episode of WWE Speed, which was exclusively on X. Once again, have to admit, was kind of a little skeptical of the whole concept of a match each week that is exclusively on X and only a 3-minute time limit. But so far, every match, fast-paced action, get right to it. Corey Graves commentary, excellent, and doing his best Joey Styles tribute, I guess you could call it, calling the matches solo. And I obviously have never done commentary for pro wrestling, but I'm sure if you ask any wrestling commentator, I'm sure they will probably say that calling a whole show by yourself is probably not the easiest thing to do. But Corey Graves, in my opinion, has been doing a fantastic job at it. And on today's episode of WWE Speed, we had Andrade El Idolo take on Carl Anderson, and as I have mentioned, fast-paced matches, a lot of quick action, and this one was definitely quick. Corey Graves even mentioned on commentary that this was probably the shortest length of a match in the short history of WWE Speed. So now Andrade advancing, and now he will take on Tommaso Ciampa, and the winner of that will advance and get a shot at the WWE Speed Championship against the champion Ricochet. So that was WWE Speed. Once again, I just gotta say, it's a very quick watch. Like I said, this one didn't really even go close to the 3-minute time limit. And if you're at work during the day, you have a quick break, pull out your phone, go on X, watch the match real quick. Definitely recommend it. And now, on to AEW Dynamite, live on TBS. And Dynamite was live from the Blue Arena at Loveland, Colorado. And we start things off with the Dynamite return of MJF, Maxwell, Jacob, Friedman, and once again, MJF just phenomenal on the mic. Definitely cutting an excellent promo. One of, if not the best talkers in the business right now. Just my personal opinion anyway. MJF, like Jeff Jackson, former host of Wrestling News Live, the SNS Radio Network, all those unplugged. Don't mean to steal his nickname, but MJF, Mr. Money on the mic. You know, when you see MJF have a mic in his hand, you know it's going to be entertaining. Hang on. Every word that he says, and then he's interrupted by Roosh. And Roosh also, I don't know if I would say surprisingly, but actually cuts a very good promo here on MJF. The usual, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. MJF kind of mocks him a little bit here, speaks a little Spanish, or pretends to speak a little Spanish maybe, and then Roosh rushes the ring, and they start trading punches back and forth. Security referees come down to the ring, and I forgot what it was called, the interim executive vice president of All Elite Wrestling, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, tries to get them separated. And our first match, as far as in-ring action goes tonight on Dynamite, is a 4-way match to determine the number one contender for the AEW International Championship. And we have Rey Fenix, Kyle O'Reilly, Jay Lethal, and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy to start off Dynamite tonight. By the way, I forgot to mention our commentators tonight, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and the Human Suplex Machine, Taz. Sorry about that. Old age, I forget things sometimes. Very good, entertaining match. Fast-paced action here. And it is Rey Fenix pinning Jay Lethal to get the win and to become the number one contender. And next week on Dynamite, we'll get the shot at the AEW International Championship. And next up, we have another qualifying match for the ladder match for the vacant AEW TNT Championship at Forbidden Door. And we have Mark Briscoe taking on the Machine, Brian Cage. Of course, Mark Briscoe, the current Ring of Honor World Champion. The Machine, Brian Cage, they have been building him since separating him from the Mogul Embassy and forming the Cage of Agony with the Gates of Agony. Very good match here. I'm not sure if I would really call this an upset or not, but it is Mark Briscoe getting the win with the Froggy Bow to advance. And during the match, we see Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita watching from the crowd. And then after Mark Briscoe scores the victory, we see Don Callis with a sarcastic clap, and then we have a camera backstage. We see the Elite's Jack Perry watching on a monitor and cuts a promo on Mark Briscoe. Of course, when the TNT Championship was vacated by the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland, the Young Bucks were just gonna award Jack Perry with the TNT Championship, just give him the title. But then we found out by the interim AEW Executive Vice President Christopher Daniels that the tournament is starting and the qualifying matches. Now Mark Briscoe has advanced. And then we go in the back with the remarkable Renee Paquette, and she is with Samoa Joe and Hook. Hook is enjoying a bag of Funyuns, and Renee asks Joe and Hook about the mentorship. Is Samoa Joe the next one to kind of take Hook under his wing and be his mentor? But Joe goes to speak, but then they are interrupted by the Premier Athletes, two members of the Premier Athletes, Tony Nese and Daivari, and they insult Hook. Nese talks about him eating the Funyuns, calls him junk or something, I think. And then Joe says they will handle it on our time. And we see the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and bounty hunter Brian Keith arrive to the arena. And Chris Jericho, I think he's very entertaining. Hi guys, things like that is just over the top, annoying, obnoxious, but that is exactly what it is supposed to be. And Jericho, I think he's just doing a great job. And of course, Brian Keith talks about people not respecting Chris Jericho. And there's even a segment where he runs into his former Jericho Appreciation Society teammates, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. He mentions Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho expecting a child. And Brian Keith says the baby better respect Chris Jericho. And then it is time for the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn. And Max Caster starts his rap. He goes to mention the Young Bucks, but then the Young Bucks appear on the screen. They mock Max Caster with a yo, listen, and then they cut them off, cut the mic, say they are cutting the segment from the show, and trios action up next. The Blackpool Combat Club, or 8-man tag I should say. The Blackpool Combat Club, for the first time in a while, back at full strength, back together again. Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and the returning Wheeler Yuta. They take on Team CMLL. Really good match here. BCC getting the win. And once again, we see Chris Jericho in the back. Looks like he's in the catering, and he tells a guy there how to scoop chicken and dumplings. And women's action is next. Saraya, representing the Outcasts, takes on Mariah May. Timeless Toni Storm, the AEW Women's World Champion is on commentary during this match, and we find out that Toni Storm has issued a challenge to Mina Shirakawa for a match at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, and it will be title versus title. And Saraya gets the submission victory. They attack Mariah May after the match. Zack Knight at ringside holding off Luther so he can't make the save. And then Mina Shirakawa comes out, makes the save, and her and Toni Storm have a face-to-face, and Mariah at this time tries to play peacemaker between the two. And our final Learning Tree Chris Jericho segment of the night, with Private Party in the back, and he says a party is more fun or something with people, and he tells them maybe they should change their name to Public Party. And then once again Brian Keith gets in their faces talking about respecting Chris Jericho. And the main event of this week's Dynamite, the AEW World Championship on the line. The champion, Swerve Strickland, defeats Roderick Strong to retain. So it is official for Forbidden Door, the AEW World Championship match. Swerve Strickland taking on the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. And I have no doubt that this one be a fantastic match. And yes, there's been some criticism online of people how Swerve Strickland, he hasn't actually main evented a pay-per-view since he's been champion. Yes, Double or Nothing was a triple main event, but Anarchy in the Arena was the match that actually closed the show, which is the, I guess you could call it the main event maybe. But I would say at Forbidden Door there's probably a good chance that Swerve and Ospreay will probably close the show, or at least I would think so anyway. But we will just have to wait and see until we get to Forbidden Door. So that is tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Very entertaining show, I thought. Definitely some good wrestling on this show. And Chris Jericho, like I said, well, actually, I remember reading there was supposed to be a TV time segment, but unless maybe that got changed last minute, and he did say there's going to be an episode next week on Dynamite, so we could probably count on seeing that next Wednesday night on Dynamite. So overall, very good show. And before I wrap up this episode of the podcast, just a reminder that tomorrow there will be a new episode of 360 Anything Goes, dropping at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And it's just an episode, like I said, it's a podcast about podcasts. And just talking about some of my favorite ones, some I listen to regularly, give some recommendations. So check that out tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts, on Spreaker, here on YouTube, video version tonight, or, like I said, anywhere you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, pretty much just about anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Go to the comment section, either on Spreaker or right here on YouTube if you're watching the video version. And down below, comment your thoughts on tonight's AEW Dynamite and predictions for Friday's TNA Against All Odds, Sunday night's NXT Battleground Premium Live event. Down below in the comment section, if the website or app you're listening to has a comment section. We'll be back right here tomorrow morning for the Thursday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. So I hope that you all will join me for that. And hope you all enjoy Dynamite tonight. Have a great night. And I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.